Good morning. Welcome back. It's another cloudy, dreary, crappy day. However, it is drying out a little bit. We might be able to do some spreading, some fertilizer, and some discing here this afternoon. So Dad's finishing up that last little bit with the ripper that we talked about yesterday, where he was cleaning up his lugs and pile and all that stuff. So I think he wants to power wash the ripper here, and then we'll get that unhooked and put away later this morning, hopefully. So I have got a little phone interview meeting thing for this Heads Up company that I've been working with. I did that trial for them this year. That went pretty well, and they're having I don't know if it's for dealers or customers or who it's for. I don't know, a little online Zoom thing, and they wanted me to talk through that trial protocol, what we did, and the results of it a little bit. So I get ready and do that. Well, consider the Heads Up people educated. Something like that. Now, we just talked about my trial results and my experiences with the Heads Up, which has been pretty positive overall. I think it's a good product. It's relatively cheap, and like I've said in the past, if it does anything, it's worth it. So, and I've proved that it did something. All right, Dad is out spraying. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. We'll talk about why we're spraying in November. But I'm going to go out here and grab the disc ripper, pull it around in front of the shop, and we're going to do a light power washing. We ain't getting throw on this. We're just going to get the heavy dirt off, get some of the oil and grease off of some of the cylinders that I know are leaking, so maybe we can track them a little better for next year. And we're going to get it put away. Keep the dirt off of my floor in my barn. That's what we're trying to do. Go ahead and get her unfolded here. It's not terrible. There's a little mud on it, but it should clean up pretty quick. Do you remember what I said about this being quick? I was wrong. It's not going to be quick. Turns out tillage equipment has lots of dirt on it. I mean, lots of dirt on it. Most of which is now on my face, apparently. Oy vey. I have not gotten over to this side here hardly at all, but we're getting there. We're getting there. I did get that rim cleaned up. I went through in the back and got all the stuff off these rolling baskets and the closing discs. That was a lot of stuff caked on there, big chunks like that. And then we have come around this side. I climbed up on top. We got this side reasonably clean. We got a little more to do yet. I'm not worried about all the stuff on those scrapers and getting every last nook and cranny here, but also did notice, look at this. Disc blade's getting nicked up pretty good there. We might have to look at blades next summer. A little more to do here. Oh, anyway, I'm out of diesel fuel in my hot water heater thing, so we're gonna fill her up. And it's lunchtime. Do I quit, take all this stuff off, and go eat lunch, and then come back and have to finish this, or should I just finish it? I don't really want to just finish it. Yep, I am most definitely going to regret this in about an hour when I've got to come back and finish this job, but right now I don't want to do it either, so I'm going to go eat lunch. Anyway, I got our diesel tank filled up there, so we'll have hot water to finish the job. All right, I am back. I should keep working on this. Before we do that, though, I told you this morning Dad was spraying some corn stalks, doing some fall burn down, so let's just talk about that a little bit. We haven't talked about the fall spraying program and stuff that we do, and probably a whole bunch of people are like, it's like Thanksgiving, it's cold, we've already had a hard frost, why would you worry about any weeds that are out there, right? Right. So I came out to a cornfield here, or corn stalks, and it's important to know that when we're talking about herbicides and stuff, like, we can control weeds in corn much, much easier than we can in soybeans. So on a field like this that is corn stalks going to soybeans next year, we did a really good job of weed control this year, and they're pretty clean, right? Like, these fields, there wasn't a bunch of weeds out here when we were harvesting this fall. Our corn herbicides did its job. Now, the reason that we can control weeds better in corn is because corn is a grass, and so controlling broadleaf weeds like mare's tail, like giant ragweed, like water hemp, it's easier in corn because we can use different chemistries that only kill broadleaves and don't hurt the grass, which is corn. Now, soybeans are also a broadleaf, and so finding those herbicides that you can control weeds without hurting the beans is much, much more difficult. So we like to spray in the fall because weeds are much easier to kill when they're small. And a lot of these weeds, like the mare's tail, chickweed, the water hemp, we're going to find out, and we'll see how well it works on that. But they're winter annuals where they start growing in the fall and they kind of go dormant for the winter, and then they start growing again in the spring. And if we can kill them in the fall, they're much easier to kill than they are in the spring, and it just lets us get ahead of the game a little bit. So let me show you here a little bit. I haven't looked real extensively, but you'll notice right here, we've got a little chickweed growing. There's another one there. There was some over here, and they're really small, but they've just kind of started growing this fall. And if we come out here with just a little bit of 2,4-D right now, we're going to kill all of these little weeds off before they get big and before they get hard to kill. And I'm sure there's some mare's tail out here somewhere. That's been the one that we've noticed the biggest difference with. But by spraying these corn stalks in the fall with some 2,4-D, they're essentially going to stay almost perfectly clean through the spring, right up to the point where we do our spring tillage and get them planted, and we can get our pre-emerge herbicides put down before the beans come up and keep those fields clean. So we're just using 2,4-D, which is relatively cheap. Doesn't take much to make that pass, doesn't cost us a lot. You could use dicamba. Basically anything that's in the field growing now, we can kill it, and it makes it better for in the spring. So that's what Dad's doing. He's out doing that fall burn down pass, finishing up the last couple of fields. Those weeds aren't going to die from a frost or from the winter, and so those are the things that we're targeting. It's not so much the grasses and foxtail or even the giant ragweed that will die off over the winter when it gets cold here. It's the other weeds that we can help control and prevent from becoming a problem in the spring. Like I said, weeds are really hard to control in beans, so the more you can set yourself up for success there and get ahead of the game, the better. And we could do an early spring burn down as well, but it's much more time effective and easier to get in the fields in the fall here now than it is in the spring, because typically in the spring we're usually pretty wet and it's hard to get across these fields before we're to the point where we're like, all right, time to plant them, right? Especially with beans. I'm trying to plant beans as early as possible. So if we get dry the middle of April or even early April, I'm going to go and plant. I'm not going to want to mess around with trying to go and spray, and then you got to let the weeds die before you can do any tillage and that kind of stuff. So doing this in the fall frees up a lot of time for us in the spring, and it's more effective than doing it in the spring. So, and like I said, any weeds that may germinate, those little tiny ones that are out there now, they're going to grow a little bit all through, I mean, not all winter when it's super cold, but even through December here when we're in the 50s, 40, 50 degree temperatures, they're still growing and developing. And so knocking them back now is good. And any of them that do come kind of start to grow into spring, hopefully our tillage will take out. If not, our pre-emerge herbicides should control them pretty effectively. Now, we do still intend to run the disc over those fields here this fall, but what we have found is that the light tillage that we're doing with that disc isn't super effective at taking out the weeds. It doesn't go deep enough to completely remove them. It kind of throws them around, and then they can reroot, regrow. Especially the mare's tail can be a major problem. So chemical control is better than tillage control. Now, if we ran the ripper through it, that's a different story. Would be a little bit more effective, but we're not doing that on all of our acres going to soybeans. Back to power washing. Let's finish this off. Don't be picky. Don't be picky. Just do it and get it done. Okay, we're done. Look at it before it dries and before. Yeah, don't look too close. Don't look too close. It's better. I'm happy with it. It's probably as clean as it has been since it was new. So good enough. We'll fold her up and get her out of here and go unhook it. And we got to clean up our concrete. There's an awful lot of dirt and mud on the concrete now. This tractor smells like chicken litter. Ugh. Alright, so we'll put her away. Now, the question is, will this whole thing fit in that open front shed? Because We're 40 foot deep, plus we got a 4 foot overhang. But I don't know how long this thing is. It would just be the tongue that sticks out, if anything. But yeah, it's gonna stick out a little ways, I would imagine, or it's gonna fill it up. Now we can come back a little farther. Are we close enough to the wall? Could get over a little farther that way too. How far? Let's see. 2 feet. If I put that tire right on that crack, right in the middle of that tire, would be better. Wiggled it over a little bit. Backed her up a little bit. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. A little crooked. We'll square her up and come back a foot and park it. That'll work. All right, we got to put these stands down. They go in right here. All right, I put those stands down, and then I lowered it down so that we've got a little weight on them. They're not adjustable other than the pin. There's no crank on them, so we'll put the tongue jack in and close our valve here so that it doesn't settle. Which way? It goes that way. And unhook her. Okay. Cool. Now, I would like to go and get the fuel cultivator that's parked down over there and put it in on the other side. However, the lane is awfully muddy today, so I'm going to wait until it's either frozen or it dries up a little bit. It's supposed to be sunny tomorrow, and things should dry off a little bit. I'm hoping we can get the rest of that gypsum spread and start doing some tillage on some corn stalks, some disking. Yeah, so this tractor is probably going to go on the disc. I've gotten a lot of questions about this tractor and whether it's running all right and the emission stuff since we took the filter out and cleaned it last fall and stuff. And yes and no. When it does its regen, sometimes, not every time, but sometimes it still throws a pressure code, exhaust pressure, I don't know, whatever it is. Like the pre and post filter pressures aren't right or don't align or something. But it does its regen, and then when it's done, if you shut the tractor off and restart it, it runs just perfectly fine. However, we have another little issue that has crept up this fall again, in that it's throwing a little white smoke every now and then and using some coolant. And on this tractor, that means it's probably an EGR cooler. I think. It's this piece right here. Seems we have to replace that piece about every 2 years because it's leaking coolant internally and putting it into the combustion chamber, and then it burns white smoke when you start it up, and that's not cool. It's nothing like what we saw, I think it was 2 years ago when that happened. Remember when we got that 9RX to demo, that 9RX 640 we used for 100 acres or so? That's when we had that problem. It was up at the dealer there, so they let me demo that 9RX. Maybe that wasn't last year. I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I think it's doing the same thing again. So we're gonna keep an eye on it. It's not that bad yet. And I'll talk to the dealer and see what they say. But probably going to the dealer this winter sometime for some maintenance repairs. Not because I'm not allowed to do it, but because I don't know how to do it. There's Dad. I suppose we should clean up our concrete here a little bit. Wonder if he's done, gonna winterize. I don't know how effective that was, trying to back scrape all of this into a pile and scoop it up. I didn't scoop much, but at least most of it's piled here and we can use water for the rest. Sludgy, soupy mess. Ugh. Well, I got the concrete cleaned off pretty well, but it appears while I got the backhoe here, we better clean our drain out. We got a grate in there. It's got a settling basin and a whole thing to keep the dirt from getting into the drain, or the outlet at least. So we'll pull her out and get the shovels. Tried blasting some water down through it to clear it out so that at least the water would drain, but it's not going down very fast. Go get my boots on. Now it's going. Yeah, this is a two-hand job. Yeah, you can. So there's the initial one here, and then we got a concrete grate that we can pull out and get down through there. There we go. Now the water's draining. I don't think we need to pull the concrete plug. We just got to clean out the top here. There. So we can lift this whole thing out of there with that chain when it stops taking water from that point, but we're not there yet, so we're good. Flip the grate back over and finish cleaning up our concrete over there and call it good enough. All right, well, I'm 2 for 2 the last 2 days. We cleaned a barn and we got a disc ripper cleaned up. What's tomorrow's project? Tomorrow's Saturday. Tomorrow, if I'm not in the field spreading fertilizer or doing something more productive, I'm probably not working too much, but grain cart's probably next. Grain cart and the bean head are the two easy things next to clean up and get put away. And then maybe we can get the combine out and start cleaning the corn head up. And corn head's going to be a much faster progress or project this year than it was last year. Last year we did a almost total rebuild on it. This year we're just going to clean everything up good, make sure it's adjusted. The only thing that I know that's wrong or that I need to fix is we've got some electrical issues with the wire harness, I think. My guess right now is that a mouse or something got into the wire harness because my deck plate sensors, my row feelers, my header height sensors, none of them work. Well, that's all the electrical stuff on the whole head. So I think we've got something in there somewhere that we've got to find it and maybe just put a whole new wire harness on the head. I don't know. Or we could just buy a new 12-row folding corn heads, but Dad said we can back this combine up a little bit more and get a little more room. It's a little tight getting the sprayer in there, so I can't see it from the cab very good. So he was going to help me here. Yeah, we got 3 feet there. That would help. Well, this one kind of ended abruptly. I was editing and I'm like, I just kind of quit for the day. But that was about the end of the day. Didn't do much else. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And I'll probably see you again on Monday because I don't think I'm doing enough tomorrow or Sunday to justify making a video. So have a great weekend, everybody.